Big news, I'm now live streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/Trevviews, link below. I don't care about your flat tire. Go watch me play Cars Mater National, the greatest Wii game in existence by far. You know, it's kinda crazy that Illumination made Despicable Me back in 2010 and then like never again made a good movie after that. Actually, wait, no, that's not crazy at all because Despicable Me was Illumination's first movie. They were actually trying to make a good movie back then. But once they stopped, they gave into the worst parts of Despicable Me 1 and turned it into a franchise that will continue for years to come. So today we're gonna look back at where Despicable Me succeeded and where the Despicable Me movie Minions Rise of Gru fell short in relation to the first film. I will say though, Rise of Gru was unironically a better piece of cinematic art than Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so the comedy in Despicable Me is actually really good, but something that Illumination completely failed at realizing is that it wasn't because these little yellow pills were funny. Everything funny from the movie came from the interactions between Gru, the Gorals, or like literally any character that wasn't these banana turds.
No! Stay away from their interaction! Well, I suppose the plan will work with two.
Okay, for real, that joke is really brutal. Like, I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, oh wow, why is there blood in this movie? I thought this was for kids. It certainly helped that Illumination hired someone that just about everyone can agree is a very funny person to be the main character. Gru is hilarious because of how despicable he can be when insulting people without them really reacting.
You have a face como un burro. Cookie robots. I said cookie robots. Why are you so old?
Every human character in this movie is phenomenal, from Vector to Miss Patty to Gru's mom, and of course the girls.
These aren't pajamas.
What are you warming up for?
Stuff.
What sort of stuff?
Super cool stuff you wouldn't understand.
Like sleeping?
Okay, let's talk about what was funny in Minions Rise of Gru. I won't lie, the Minions are funny, but not anywhere to the extent that any of the humans are. And I think everyone realized this when the first Minions came out and it was just pretty boring. They can't carry a movie on their own. When all of the characters are just the same joke played in different variations throughout multiple movies, it doesn't take long for them to get really old. I will say though, there was a scene in Minions 2 where one of the Minions was dressed as a female and their tennis balls fell out of their chest area in their shirt, and since I'm a little man baby, that part made me laugh pretty hard. But all the parts where the Minions go on extended scenes of them singing, flying on a plane, or just doing anything got old really fast. And none of the humans in this movie were funny enough to hold up any laughs because I guess Gru didn't get his sense of humor until he grew up. At this point, Illumination just assumes that people are gonna see these little yellow iPad kids and explode in laughter, so they don't bother trying to make any of the other characters funny. And honestly, that's the reason why Despicable Me 1 is going to forever be the funniest Despicable Me movie in my opinion. Another thing Minions Rise of Skywalker did in a much worse way than Despicable Me is how they handled Gru's character arc. So in Despicable Me 1, Gru's motivations are pretty cut and dry. He is going to steal, pause for effect, the moon! That's his motivation. Obviously, by the end of the movie, he has different motivations, but how did he get there? Well, he got attached to his kids, but every instance of him becoming attached to the girls fitted within his motivations. I mean, the whole reason that he adopted them is so that he could use them to steal the shrink ray. After he did that, he was perfectly okay with going to a theme park with them if it meant that he could get them out of his hair so that he could focus more on stealing the moon. But obviously, that just caused him to grow closer to the girls. Gru didn't really care about the girls winning the carnival game until he felt like he was being challenged by the employee. Everything he does is clearly within character to reach his goal. But through the cracks of that, he slowly became more attached to his children, so much that he'd be willing to give up the moon in exchange for their safety. Now, Minions Rise of Gru was just weird with Gru's character arc. And when I say weird, I mean it's non-existent. I'm gonna keep this spoiler free. I mean, there's really not much to spoil in this movie, but basically by the end of the movie, in the most cheesiest and laziest way to write possible, Gru spoon feeds the message of the movie to the audience through a speech. But honestly, maybe it wasn't a bad idea to spoon feed the message, because it's one of those things where you really gotta squint to figure out the connections they're trying to make, because this movie focused more on being comic relief the movie rather than actually having a message. Near the beginning of the movie, Gru has a falling out with the Minions, and then after being separated for them for like the entire movie, Gru learns that he needs the Minions because teamwork. That's the message of the story. And look, I didn't go into this movie expecting anything significant, so I'm not gonna dunk on them too much for such a shallow message, but please don't have the main character give a speech about how much they learned throughout the movie to try and shoehorn in some sort of message when it's quite clear that the movie has no message. But again, Illumination doesn't care. They're not trying to make a movie. They were during Despicable Me when they had nothing, but now that they have everything, they aren't. And Illumination isn't willing to go a single movie without throwing in some cheesy blink and you miss it message, because by admitting that the movies have no message, they've kind of admitted defeat. Even though I feel like I would have appreciated this movie a lot more if it had just owned up to being a stupid brain mush movie with no meaning. If not for Gru's pretentious and cringy speech at the end of Rise of Gru, I'd give this movie a 6 out of 10, but now it's a 5 out of 10. Okay, that's enough talking about this franchise. The TLDR of this video is that basically everything good about Despicable Me 1 came from everyone but the Minions, and since Illumination stopped caring after the first movie, they decided to focus their entire company's reputation on the profitable and funnyless Mighty Beans. I can only hope that Illumination realizes by Despicable Me 4 or 5 or 6 that the Minions have been milked dry, but I don't know, that seems like a long shot. Once again, go follow me on Twitch, and don't forget to subscribe for high quality content. I'll see ya in Radiator Springs.